Thank you for joining me. We are here with the SLWG Author Series. I am Brad R. Cook, your host. Today I have the great honor of sitting here with Emily Hall, the proprietress and co-owner of Main Street Books. We'll get into a little bit more about that in just a bit, but thank you for being here.
Of course.
Awesome. And thanks for giving such a great workshop at St. Louis Writers Guild.
Absolutely.
So you are the proprietress
Yes.
of Main Street Books. Where is Main Street? What exactly is Main Street?
So Main Street is a historic district in St. Charles, Missouri. It's sort of the downtown area. It's the home of the first state capital of Missouri. Before the state capital moved to Jefferson City, it was here in St. Charles. We are right on the Missouri River. I can probably, if I threw really well, hit the Missouri River with a rock from my front door. And it is a beautiful historic district. Lots of good shopping, lots of wonderful dining, beautiful place to come and spend an afternoon or a day or an entire week.
Excellent. So, you gave a wonderful talk on Wherever Books Are Sold, a guide to forming a lasting partnership with independent bookstores. You own and co-own an independent bookstore.
I do in fact.
So what is something that you find that you love about being a bookstore owner?
Oh my goodness, there's so many things. I don't think I could pick just one. One of the things that I like best is the ability to interact with the authors of these great books and to bring them to my customers. I love managing school visits, so we have authors that come in and they visit the area schools, elementary, middle, high school, and they talk to the students, they get to sign books, and then of course sometimes they go and they do public events at the library afterwards. It's a fantastic opportunity for me to meet the people that write the books that I love, but also for the school children of St. Charles and St. Louis to meet these people as well. I mean, if I had that opportunity when I was in middle or high school, I don't know that I'd be a bookseller. I think I would already be a writer.
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
So then the next question I have to ask is, what is the biggest surprise you've had being a bookstore owner?
A lot of those too. I didn't realize I've only ever had jobs before. This is quite the career. So the sheer amount of work that I have to put into it every day. I mean, I work 60-hour weeks, and I know that other people do too. But it's just been managing your own business is a completely different animal than going to a 9-to-5 job.
It's not just reading books.
No. That's one of the questions that I get. Have you read every book in the store? People ask me that all the time. I unfortunately have less time to read now that I own the store, but it's still a very, very important part of the job. But, I mean, it's also surprising how many people still love to come to bookstores. I get people all the time, oh, it's such a cute store, we love it here, it's our favorite place on Main Street. It's very affirming.
It is very much one of my favorite bookstores. So then I have to ask, you did give this talk on, forming a lasting partnership with independent bookstores. So then what is your best piece of advice for holding a signing in a great store like this?
To hold a signing, you have to talk about it. And so many people, especially when they consign a book or when they schedule a signing, a lot of the times they just sort of leave it up to the bookstore to do all the work, which is fine. We're able to promote books, but we have 8,000 titles in our store, so it's really difficult to promote one single book. So when you schedule a signing with Main Street Books, what you should do is just tell everybody. Absolutely everybody. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell your family friends. Tell your bunco group. Tell your fellow parishioners. Tell your critique partners. Tell your Zumba class. It doesn't matter who you tell. Just tell them all. And tell them to the point where they kind of get sick of it. Tell them to the point where they're mildly annoyed with you and they say, oh my gosh, dude. Stop talking about your signing. If I show up to your signing, will you stop talking about it? And then that gives you the right to hold it against them for the rest of their life if they don't show up. So there you go. You just have to talk about it. Talk about it in any way you can. Promote it on social media. Put it on your website. Send it out in your newsletter. Just get the word out.
Yes, that's very important. So then I have to ask, what is something that an author should never do when approaching you or another bookstore owner? Be nice.
I will be nice, I promise. Booksellers are incredibly busy, and it might not seem like it, especially with sort of the cultural implications of bookstores. We sit around and we read all day. That's not true. We have a lot of work to do. So never ambush a bookseller in the middle of a busy time.
Yeah, it's very important.
When you walk up to the bookstore, when you walk into the bookstore, when you're doing a recon, seeing where your book will fit, take the bookseller's card. and craft a cognizant email to them, or if they don't seem as busy in a particular moment, walk up to them and say, hey, I'm a local author, when would be a good time for me to step back in and talk about consignment processes? So it's all about sort of gauging the level of stress that a bookseller is experiencing at any particular time and making yourself available for a meeting at another time. Just don't ambush them. We get more stressed out than we look sometimes. Book selling might seem like the idyllic life, but there are days where we want to start.
Wait until there's a nice
taking
opportunity.
Hostages. Yes.
Not when they're running around trying to fix an order.
Yes, that would be.
Yes.
That's happened. That happens.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being part of this, and more importantly, thank you for a wonderful workshop.
Of course, my pleasure.
You can find more about that workshop. Keep watching, or you can check it out in the Scribe or other places along that through St. Louis Writers Guild. I do want to do a quick plug. Main Street Books is at 307 South Main Street in St. Charles, Missouri. Do come check it out. It is a wonderful, wonderful bookstore. And you can find out more at mainstreetbooks.net.
Correct.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. We truly appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Or a lady with brown hair behind the counter looking completely confuzzled as to what's happening, those are them. Main Street Books has several main sources of revenue, and we get a good smattering of traffic. Besides our tourist traffic and our local traffic, our main sources of revenue are as follows. Holidays. Holidays are huge on Main Street. And the biggest holiday, of course, is Christmas. People start asking for Christmas books as early as late September, so we always have to have them around. 4th of July is pretty big. A lot of folks are off, so they come down and they shop, all those good things. And then Memorial and Labor Day, people are also off and shopping, vacationing, visiting family, that kind of a thing. We get a ton of traffic from festivals. Historic Main Street and Historic St. Charles are great about holding various festivals over the course of the year. It starts in July with Riverfest, but the biggest festival of the year, bar none, is Christmas Traditions. Christmas Traditions is huge. It starts on Black Friday, it ends on Christmas Eve. There's garland, there's lights, there's bows, there's ribbons, there's characters running around dressed like Santa Claus. All the shops are open late, there's roasted chestnuts, there's reindeer at the end of the street. It's nuts. It is the craziest time of the year. One of my favorites, but at the end of the Christmas Traditions Festival, we all go home and we're like, okay, now what do we do? There's nobody here anymore. Festival of Little Hills is also absolutely huge. It is an arts and crafts festival that is taking place the 3rd weekend of August every single year. And they set up tents and booths from all the way down at the 1000 block of South Main and Trailhead Brewery, all the way up to 1000 block of North Main and Foundry Arts Center. And there's food, and there's crafts, and there's arts, and there's all kinds of different things. And it is absolutely nuts and insane and crazy. It's one of the best weekends of the year for sales, if you happen to be on the correct side of the street, which we are. Mosaics Festival is another big festival that happens, and that's more arts and less crafts, really. It's a juried art festival. They actually come down, and there's people that do all sorts of art. We're close enough to the action. It starts right after our block, so the 200 block of South all the way down north. So we're close enough to the action to get a good chunk of revenue from the people that are shopping. So it's really lovely. We also get sources of revenue from events. Events are huge. And we do 2 types of events. We do in-store events for all our local folks or for bigger publishers that want sort of a more intimate gathering of people. And we also do huge off-site events, usually with the St. Charles City County Library District. There's a couple of other places where we'll do off-site events. We did an event at Urban Chestnut Brewery in the Grove this year, and we're going to do events with the Foundry Arts Center as well. But our biggest partner is the St. Charles City County Library District, so that's where we hold most of our big events. And it's very, very important to us to have that source of off-site revenue. So this is a picture from one of our events. There's some Writers Guild members in there. I think Meredith Tate's right there. You can't really see because she's kind of squished. But there's various, Chantal Madison's over there. I think this might have been during Brad's signing, but it was a Christmas Traditions Day. It was crazy in the store. So it's just a little look at what it looks like when the store is busy. That is Main Street Books in a nutshell. And we would love it to be something that you've created. You have given life to your own worlds. And that is something to be proud of. You know, being a writer isn't just about dreaming. Being a writer is about doing. Because, after all, I had fun with my transitions. Can you tell? Nobody ever became a writer by just wanting to be one. Makes sense. So, now, you've written a book. Congratulations! Woohoo! I hear you guys. A book and congratulations. Now what? Well, now it is time to get your book into a bookstore. I'm going to talk a little bit about how bookstores select the stock that we put into our store. And it's different for every bookstore, but this is my general process. We select the books that we want to sell, books in our store, in 4 main ways. We meet with our publisher sales reps. And these guys are the ones that are hired by the big publishing companies to come out and talk about their front list titles, everything that's going to come out in a particular season. I have 13 of them that I meet with 2 or 3 times a year. I have 5 alone for Penguin Random House. And those people, they come in, or we have calls, and they talk about, catalogs with hundreds or thousands of titles in them, for publishing companies that are going to come out over the course of the next 3, 4, 5 months. And they give me their personal recommendations, books that they absolutely love. They tell me about local authors. They send me emails about things that are new and exciting or drop-in titles. So I really trust these guys. These are the people that know me and that know my store, that knew Vicki, that were able to give us a great idea of what is going to sell in our particular area to our particular clientele. These are people that are absolutely fabulous at what they do. I have several more that drop by from time to time, folks that are published with Reedy Press or with the History Press in Arcadia. Those folks will drop by and they will come in and they'll say, hey, there's this new book out, and I'll say, okay, I'll take some, and then they, say, I've got a box in my car, and then they come in with the books, and it's like the traveling encyclopedia salesman, except it's, books. Well, different books. I look at what my customers are requesting, and if I think that it's something that the other customers of mine will like, then I'll bring that in too. For example, there's a book called My Blessed Wretched Life, and it's the biography of Rebecca Boone. And a customer ordered it, and I brought in about 6 more copies, and they were gone within 2 weeks. Daniel Boone in St. Charles, who knew? Other such things include Susan Branch. Susan Branch was a huge deal for one of my local authors, Ann Hazelwood. I brought in a book for her, and I said, oh, this is really cool, I'll bring it in again. And it ended up that Susan Branch is a huge deal everywhere since the 80s, and now Susan Branch is coming to Main Street Books in May, which is really cool. So we had that sort of lead in. It was kind of nice. I also pay attention to what's selling in the store. The biggest example that I can give of this is coloring books. Oh my gosh, coloring books. It's been crazy. We heard about coloring books. We got a few in. We sold them. We're like, okay, that's cool. We got a few more in. We sold all those. It got to the point where I had to rearrange my coloring book and historical fiction section so that I could put all my coloring books out. And people still buy them. It's crazy. And it's coloring books about everything, about jungles and gardens and forests. And then there's coloring books with Benedict Cumberbatch's face. It doesn't matter. They still sell. It's nuts. I also look at my own personal preference. My personal preferences are young adult, steampunk, and romance. And those are the things that I curate especially for my customers that come to me for recommendations. My parents have their own things that they like to read. My mom likes women's fiction. My dad likes history. They're able to curate those sections and bring things in that they are passionate about so they can share them with their customers. And my staff, the rest of my staff does as well. So those are generally the ways that I pick stock. I also listen to the folks that come to the trade shows. So I go to bookselling trade shows, a small one in the fall, a larger independent bookseller one in the winter, and then I'm going to Book Expo America this year for the first time, which my brain is going to explode when that happens. Luckily, Vicky's going to be with me, so I'm going to be like slightly less.
It's going to be really messy.
Vicky says it's going to be really messy, so I don't know. Hopefully, it'll be slightly less insane. But so I go to those conferences, and my sales reps are usually there. They can talk to me about new stuff. I read various book-selling publications. I read Publishers Weekly. I read Romantic Times, and there are a couple of industry newsletters that have book ads in them, so I'll look at those. And then I get random sources, book ideas from sources. So, for example, I read People Magazine for the book reviews, or Entertainment Weekly, and especially NPR. NPR is great about books. They had a really awesome segment on yesterday about consent and assault in young adult literature. It was an incredible segment. It's like 5 minutes and 45 seconds long. But I picked out at least 3 new books that I want to bring into the bookstore to be able to provide that to my customers. So I always listen to NPR on the way to the office.